Good morning, students. Today, in our history, we will come to chapter 6 Towns, Traders, and Craftspersons. Okay, so we are going to look in the period of 12th century, okay, 11th, 12th century that time. And first, the towns were developed in four ways. There were towns, for example, temple town, administrative center, commercial town, or port town. These were the four types of towns those developed in the early times. Okay, and some towns there was exception. Some towns were administrative center and commercial center, or maybe temple towns, or two or three ways it was, means these were combined together several functions. Okay, so such towns were there. We will look into such towns. Here is a map, and here when you look into this map, on the map you may see some of the towns are mentioned here. These towns, many of them were commercial centers, and capital means administrative center, or temple towns. All these together are there, and some are ports towns also. Okay, now we'll go through each of these. First we will come to administrative center. Administrative center means capital city. It's the capital of a particular kingdom or an empire, and how it functions. So we take first the example of Tanjore. You might have heard it. Tanjore was the capital of Chola dynasty. Okay, that's the place is north and part of Tamil Nadu. Okay, so the Chola dynasty is capital. So you understood that when it's capital, it's what? It's an administrative center, right? Now, this was on the bank. The town Tanjore was on the bank of Kaveri. And see, there was a great, amazing temple. His name was what? Rajarajeshwara temple. Okay, Rajarajeshwara temple. It was built by his great king Rajaraja Chola. King Rajaraja Chola built this temple, Rajarajeshwara temple, and it was the architect's name was famous, and it's carved on the wall of this temple. His name was Kuncharamallan Rajaraja Perundachal. He was the architect, or he was the artist who built this temple. Okay, and this temple, it had a massive Shivalinga inside that temple. Okay, so this temple was one of the most important attraction or features of this town, which this Tanjore. Okay, and there were many other buildings. So it is all talking about the architecture of Tanjore. Their palaces with pavilions, or mandabas they call. Okay, and the kings used to hold meetings there in these pavilions or mandabas, and issuing orders to their subordinates there. And there were barracks for the army. Okay, in this town in Tanjore, barracks also were there. So we saw the temple and people around the temple, and the palace. Okay, that means the administrative center. No, so palace and people, kings and his subordinates there, and the barracks for the army. Okay, now this Tanjore was a bustling business center as as well. Okay, markets were there, and see, grains, spices, cloth, and jewelry were sold here. And water supply, we have seen that this town was on the bank of Kaveri, so water was supplied from Kaveri. But wells and tanks also were there to cater water to this city. Now, there was a group of weavers called Salias. So Salias were the weavers of Tanjavur. They were a famed group of weavers. They used to weave this cloth. They were producing cloths for flags to be used in the temple festival. It's temple Tanjavur. There is a temple. We have seen that. Okay, so for festivals, during festivals for flags, these people weaved and produced clothes for that. And then they made fine cottons for the kings and the nobility, kings and the rich people, and the coarse cotton or the cheap cotton for the ordinary people. Okay, now there was Sami Malay, that also near Tanjavur, and there were a group of people called Sthapatis. Who were Sthapatis? They were sculptors. Okay, sculptors who used to make what sculptures make. What they make sculpture, that means the statues, or we call these murtis, no, but made of bronze. They were making idols or murtis of bronze, not of rocks or anything, stone or anything else. They used to make sculptures or idols of bronze. And other thing, the ornamental bell, tall ornamental bell, that's hung in the temples. Okay, and other thing, the metal lamps. So it was about Tanjavur as an administrative center. Now we will come to next, temple town and pilgrimage center. So we are in our second. First we saw the administrative center. Now next, the temple towns or pilgrimage centers. Okay, town developed nearby or around, surrounding the areas of a temple. See, Tanjavur is also an example of a temple town. Already we have seen that there was Rajaraja temple. Okay, that's Rajarajeshwara temple there, and that's so famous that people used to come or thronging there. So it's an example of temple town as well. Okay, now these temple towns always represent a very important pattern of urbanization those time. Okay, the process by which cities develop. Okay, temples were often central to the economy and society, right? So who built these temples? We know naturally rulers, kings or nobility, the rich people only can do this. So mostly kings built temples to demonstrate their devotion to various deities. Okay, the kings used to build these temples to show their devotion to their deity. Okay, and they entered the temples with grants of land and money, means supported the temple with large grants of money and land. Okay, and to how there were lot of rituals in the temple, so that needed money. Okay, and feed pilgrims and priests and celebrate festivals. For all this purpose, kings used to give money to the temples. Of course, the pilgrims, those who are coming into there to the temples, also gave money as donation. Okay, now temple authorities had lot of money, and now what they did, they started the temple authorities, they started using this money for trade and banking. Okay, so as they used the money for trade and banking, what happened? Large number of people started settling there, like priests, workers, artisans, traders, etc. Okay, now because of this, or when people of several categories, groups came and settled near or around the temple, the temple towns emerged, or a town of temple towns, thus emerged the temple towns. Okay, so towns emerged around temples such as those, see, Bilaswamin, that is Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, and Somnath in Gujarat are some of the example. Then see Kanchipuram and Madurai in Tamil Nadu and Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh. These are some of the example. And pilgrimage centers. Pilgrimage centers also developed, okay, into township. Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh is an example. Tiruvannamalai, that's in Tamil Nadu. Okay, then Ajmer, also an example of pilgrimage center becoming a town. It was the capital of the Chauhan Rajput kings. That was in the 12th century, and then became the Suba headquarters under the Mughals. ये चौहान जो राजपूत किंग हैं उनके कैपिटल था पहले अजमेर, उसके बाद ये लोग क्या है दिल्ली कैपिटल बनाया, बट उसके बाद मुगल्स के समय में भी मुगल्स क्या किया, ये इसका उनका सूबा हेडक्वार्टर्स मीन्स प्रोविंशियल हेडक्वार्टर्स बनाया. ओके, नाउ देयर वर वन वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट और फेमस Sufi sage settled there in this Ajmer, and his name was Khaja Moinuddin Kishti. Okay, and he settled there, and because of this, that was in 12th century, many devotees from different groups attracted to Sufi. And see, another place is Pushkar also, that's also near Ajmer. There is a lake also called Pushkar, and there also people started coming pilgrims. Okay, you know, you might have heard even today अजमेर में लोग, बहुत सारे लोग जाता है उधर, चादर ऑफर करता है. आपने देखा होगा बहुत से सेलिब्रिटी पीपल्स लाइक फिल्म स्टार्स वगैरह जाता है अजमेर में और चादर लगाता है, वो वहाँ का ऑफरिंग होता है. एंड पुष्कर के बारे में ऑल्सो आपने सुना होगा. सी पुष्कर इज नॉन फॉर व्हाट, camel fair. There is a great camel fair, and around the world people used to come there in Pushkar to take part in this camel fair.